Okay, good afternoon everybody. I'm Ronald and I'll be presenting on my ISSE project today. So these are the points that I'll be going through in this presentation today. So we have previously helped ICARA Network Services to set up their hardware and software for all three countries, as you can see from the picture. Now we have been tasked to harden the company's security to prevent the company from facing data breaches and cyber attacks. This is due to ICARA Network Services pointing out that they have a few security concerns, such as the data center being open, which allows anyone to access, their open door policy culture, which allows colleagues to see content as well as hear conversations, their servers only having default security settings, and last but not least, their IT personnel not being security trained. Now we'll be covering on the 5 acts from the Computer Misuse and Cyber Security Act, as well as the Data Protection Act that we think is relevant for the company. The first act that we'll be covering is unauthorized access to computer material. Our first recommendation to prevent this from happening is by having all devices protected with at least a two-factor authentication, which ensures that the person accessing the computer is authorized, as he will need the password as well as the second-factor authenticator. We also recommend that the company's important files and drives should be encrypted using the Windows Enterprise built-in encryption method. This is to ensure that the important documents are secure and the users accessing the document is authorized. Moving on, the second act, which is unauthorized modification of computer material. Our first recommendation for this is to be able to monitor or trace back actions made by the company's device by system logs or database journals. This is to track and monitor the actions of the users, so that if anything happens, we can check the logs to find out what has happened. We also recommend that to have all corners and important areas of the office covered with CCTV. This is to monitor all corners of the office so that if anything out of the ordinary happens, the staff will be able to prevent it immediately. Or if anything happens, they will also be able to check the CCTV footage and find out what has happened. Moving on to the third act, which is unauthorized disclosure of access codes. Our first recommendation for this act is having a routine password change for all staff, and for important systems, the frequency of change should be higher. This is so that if unauthorized personnel gets a password or an access code, he or she will not be able to use it, as the password will not be the same as the one he or she got. Hence, disclosed access codes or password will not affect the company as much. Another recommendation is building shoulder-length partitioning for staff in the workspace. This is to give staff adequate privacy. The fourth act is accuracy of personal data. Our first recommendation for this act is conducting background checks to validate data provided by the clients. This is so as to check how reliable and accurate the data is that is given to us. Another recommendation is to arrange routine checks by clients to check their accuracy of data. This allows the clients to check their accuracy and the authenticity of the data themselves. Moving on to the last act, which is protection of personal data. Our recommendation for this act is to implement biometric scanners at the office doors. This is so as to ensure that people entering the office is authorized. Another recommendation is to employ a security guard to guard the facility even after office hours. This is to ensure that it can act as a preventive measure, which when someone wants to do something to the office, he or she will think twice because there is a security guard. Furthermore, if something goes wrong, the security guard will be there to take action immediately. Now we'll be going through the physical access controls that we are recommending. This is the recommended floor plan we came up with. And these are the 5 physical access recommendations. Starting off with dividing the different departments using walls. This will allow staff to converse within their department privately, and if they want to talk at a more private location, there is a conference room which is displayed in the floor plan previously. This also makes sure that there is hardly any cross interactions with colleagues from other departments, as there will be some confidential information that other departments might not have access to. Next, building shoulder length partitioning for staff in the general workspace gives staff adequate privacy, as it shields the documents and the contents of the laptops from colleagues who are walking by. The third suggestion would be to isolate the data center from the rest of the office, like what we drew in the floor plan. This is to hide the data center from unauthorized personnel. Furthermore, since it's isolated from the rest of the office, there is no reason for anyone to be there unless they are authorized. Moving on, including biometric scanners to enter the office as well as the data center. This is to ensure that people entering the office as well as the data center is authorized and physically there, as there will not be the two of the same fingerprints in this role. Last but not least, including CCTVs at all corners of the office, with more CCTVs at important areas of the office such as data centers and the general work area. This so as to monitor all parts of the office, and if something is out of the norm, it will catch the person monitoring the CCTV and it will be stopped immediately. Furthermore, this will also act as a form of preventive measure. This will make someone who is planning to do something malicious think twice, as there are CCTVs all over the office. Now we'll be covering the logical access controls. First off, implementing two-factor authentication for all devices. This ensures that the user accessing it is authorized, as he or she will need to have the second authenticator, be it phone or biometrics. Next, giving access to certain features only to certain positions in the company, as this will only allow people with the right authority to access those features or use those features on the devices. The third suggestion would be to implement a centralized access management. This is to allocate staff user permissions to access files based on their position in the company and their security clearance. Moving on, tracking every action on the company device. This is so as to keep track and monitor what has been done on the company device. Furthermore, if something happens to any device, what happened can be traced back and we'll be able to find out who did it and what he did. Last but not least, ensuring that important files or drives are encrypted using the Windows Enterprise built-in encryption method. This is to ensure that the important documents and drives are secure, as well as to ensure that the people accessing it is authorized, as they will need a unique password to access them. Okay, now moving on to endpoint security, we'll be covering on the 5 most critical security settings. First on the list, prohibits the device from connecting to both domain and non-domain networks simultaneously, as this will provide a way for malicious hackers to gain access to company devices or network through the network bridge. Second on the list, prevents booting a malware-infected device by warning the user, as booting it might spread the malware to other devices. The third point prevents the company devices from being discoverable to other devices. This prohibits the device from communicating with other devices out of the network. This is important as it will make it harder for the malicious hacker to infiltrate the device, as it is not discoverable at all. And the fourth point on the list prevents the users from changing or disconnecting a network without signing in to the device. Without this policy implemented, people can just connect to malicious networks without any form of authentication, which might then infect and affect the rest of the company's devices or network. Last on the list, prevents the device from loading untrusted forms, be it from internet or email. This is because malicious hackers can send a malicious email which contains untrusted fonts to any staff emails, and loading it will affect the system. Now, moving on to the additional security recommendations. Firstly, giving all staff specific security instructions, the do's and don'ts. Like, do not take a picture or share any information regarding the work, or do not bring in and use your own drives or devices in the office. Secondly, implementing a card system which gives and displays a username and password for every staff, and it also displays the staff identity as well. This is so as to ensure that all staff has a unique and secure password. Furthermore, the card can be used for a third-factor authenticator and identification purposes. Thirdly, implement a rule where staff should not talk about any information about work outside work. This is so as to keep all company information and data private. Moving on, employing a security guard to guard the facility at all times. This can act as a preventive measure, as if someone wants to do something wrong, he or she will think twice about it. Furthermore, if something goes down in the office, the security guard will be able to stop it immediately as he is trained. Next, ensure that there is a routine password change for all staff. This is so as to ensure that if unauthorized personnel get a password, he or she will not be able to use it, as the password will not be the same as the one he or she got. Lastly, have no phone zone in certain important areas like conference room as well as the data center. This is so as to ensure that there will be no information leak, as the phone might have been bugged or with a video or voice recording feature. In conclusion, we have covered 5 regulations from the Computer Misuse and Cybersecurity Act and the Data Protection Act, and we have also given 2 recommendations for each act. We also covered a total of 10 physical and logical access controls in total, and the 5 most critical security settings, and we topped it off with 6 additional security recommendations. So these are our references, and thank you for your kind attention. Okay, now we're taking a look at how we can implement the 5 endpoint security settings. So we can implement these settings by going to GP Edit. So starting off with the first setting, we first go to Computer Configuration, followed by the Administrative Templates, and we'll then go to Network, and we'll look under the Windows Connection Manager, and we have found the first setting, and we have to enable it. We then apply it, and now on to the next setting. We go under System, and we look for Early Launch Anti-Malware, and we enable this setting and go for the option Good, Unknown, and Bad but Critical, and we apply it as well. Moving on to the third setting, we then go to the Group Policy and look for continued experiences on this device, and disable this setting and apply it. Moving on, we go to Logon, and we look for Do Not Display Network Selection UI, and we enable this setting. We then go to the mitigation options and look for the untrusted font blocking and enable it. We then block untrusted fonts and log events, and we then apply it. Now we have applied all the 5 endpoint security settings. We now have to run the CIS benchmark to check if the settings have been implemented. Okay, the benchmark results are out, and now we'll be taking a look whether the 5 endpoint security settings have been implemented. So let's start off with the first setting. As you can see from the benchmark result, the first setting has been implemented. Moving on to the second one. As you can see, the second one has been implemented as well. Then we'll check the third. The third setting has been implemented as well. So you see that the fourth setting as well as the fifth setting, which is 18.26.1, has been implemented as well. So from the benchmark results, we can tell that all 5 settings have been implemented successfully. Thank you for your kind attention.